And Joe, your own interest in sport, you were obviously from Clare. I was just, Kilkee was really a football area more than hurling.
It was a football area more than hurling, Tom. All West Clare is football area. You might have... There was the start of the hurling club in a place called Bellahat, which is about 4 miles north of Kilkee some years ago. I got a picture in the Clare Champion there recently. Sean de Clare from Kinnessy was living there at the time, there, and he used to hurl with them there,
Good. And but I know that you have a great love of hurling anyway, even if Kilkee was more a football area.
Tom, I'm a great lover of sport now.
All sports.
It's all sport now. I would look at horse racing now, and I would cricket now. I wouldn't, that'd be the. But
you're successful enough at the odd bet as well, Joe, aren't you?
Look at Tom. I'd have the odd good one, but I had the odd the odd bad one as well. But sure, that's the betting part of it.
Yeah, you must have enjoyed 2013 with KK getting to the All Ireland final and Clare winning the hurling.
It hasn't been wonderful, Lord above that. But what KK have done in the last 22 months, it's phenomenal, really.
Having given some lift to the parish to the place.
There's no doubt about it, they have indeed. And to themselves and to the parish and to the whole community out there, they're a brilliant set of lads there.
They're fantastic.
And I hope they mind themselves because there's more in them,
I think a rest for the winter will do them good. Hopefully they'll come back refreshed and
that's true. That is
go for 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Joe, going back a little bit, I suppose back to the 1960s, you got involved in starting up a credit union here.
Oh, Tom,
it became your a passion.
It did become a passion, and I don't know why, Tom, because when 1968 I was involved in the formation of the credit union in Kilcormac at a meeting that was held in Collinstown House, and from there started the credit union. There were a couple of people. There was a man called John Finnerty, and Patsy Digan, and maybe Seamus Daly as well, and But they were involved with Tullamore Credit Union, and but I know that John Finnerty used to go from house to house, and he'd collect for the credit union half a crown here and half a crown there. And it was like a lottery.
A notebook, I suppose.
And a notebook and bring it in and so out of that stemmed the formation of Kilcormac Credit Union. It wouldn't have started today if with all that's needed for today to
regulations and all now.
It wouldn't have started. But then against that, it had a different credit union had a different meaning at that time, and it was a cooperative really, and
owned by the community and
owned by
for the benefit of the community, and
very much based on the old Irish work thing, Mel,
Great. I'm sure there was great deliberation when it came to giving out loans, the money that had been so carefully gathered.
Yes, indeed, I remember, Tom. I remember one evening, we stopped in the evening time there, 2 evenings a week, right? It was Saturday first and foremost, and then it progressed to Friday. And anyhow, we got, was it £1,400 or something in? Oh God, this was a lifesaver, and we had a few loans that needed to be paid out and whatnot there. This was within the first or second year of it now, and unfortunately the man that gave us the money, he came in about a fortnight afterwards and went through most of it. He had his own
reason for
taking the money out. That was his way of doing things, you see. So that was, but Tom, it has been a huge success. The credit union today in Kilcormac is totally financially sound,
It is. It's a wonderful organisation.
It's a wonderful organisation. And I remember I was listening to John Hume one time on the Radio 3. He was visiting Tullamore, he was being interviewed and he talked about, he was a founder member of St. Columbus Credit Union in Derry.
Yeah.
And he said of all the things that he was ever involved in, you know, in relation to getting it up and running and staying with it there, he said the credit union was one of the best things that he ever got involved in, you know. And he has been involved in many a good story in the north of Ireland there, even the peace thing, you know. So, but it was great like that he could. Now, I suppose I could say exactly the same thing about. I did 44 years in it there, you know. So.
Huge
and at the beginning, I used to say to myself, "What in the hell am I doing in this?" You know. You'll be maybe thinking of Saturday evening, and the next thing I have to go to the credit union, you know.
And you couldn't be doing anything else.
You could be doing anything. You could have been, when the children were young, you could have been washing them at the time or something. But anyhow, it all worked out. I had a very, I had a very understanding wife who
was also involved for a while herself.
Oh, who was indeed. She was. She was in the supervisory committee for a while there, but. You can't have the house cold for the fire, what did I say, burned at both ends or whatever, the candle burned at both ends. So,
and Joe, you, I suppose, for many a long year were treasurer manager of it there, you know. The credit union, the credit union, yes. And it grew, I suppose, it grew. It grew there, but the responsibility was huge, but I never felt unsafe, like, you know, or anything like that. We asked for a guard escort at one time or another to bring home the money or something, but we were only drawing attention to ourselves, Tom, you know. But it was huge responsibility.
There was a bank strike at one time there, you know, so.
So Joe Coleman was the bank for a while, was he?
Oh God, he was. He was worried at that time, all right.
Oh bound to be. Yeah. But I suppose if around the time that the credit union was founded as well, I suppose the main businesses in Kilcormac were probably Williams's and Egan's, were they?
Oh yes, and they were banks in themselves, and they were losing their monopoly too, like, you know. In other words, I suppose times were changing, Tom, and they were losing their monopoly. But they were the banks for the area, you know. They were.
And I suppose people operated to a large degree without money so many months of the year, and then fixed up their accounts.
Yes.
But I suppose when Board of Money came then, and there was a weekly wage coming in for a lot of the population.
Yes, indeed.
Then I suppose that's where the likes of the credit union came into its own. Then I think an awful lot of the members would never have been had a bank account or.
No, they wouldn't. No.
So,
but in essence, the credit union has been wonderful for people, for the people of any area where it is. But then against that, in different places, Tom, greed took over, and unfortunately there are a few credit unions that are in trouble.
They are.
But it doesn't affect other credit unions in the sense that
they're all independent businesses.
Every credit union is independent of the other. Like,
I suppose it is probably the major success story in Kilcormac, isn't it?
I suppose it is really, you know.
It was great credit to the people who started it.
Oh yeah, great credit to the people who started it and stayed with it.
For sure.
And are still with it, because the problem is impossible now to get somebody to do things on a voluntary basis, you know.
Yeah, because there's so much regulation now, there's so many demands for training and approval and so on. Yeah.
God, you want to have a halo now before they nearly accept you.
Yeah, you know, it's changed times.
Oh, changed times, yes.
Joe, I suppose your other interest then, I suppose an awful lot of people here would also associate you with the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Oh yes.
And that was great.
That was a great success.
It was a great success. And you were the MC, and
I was the MC for 23 years there.
23
years there, Tom, you know, so
and it always brought a great buzz to Kilcormac.
Oh sure, it did indeed. But then against that, it wouldn't be a success only for the people that were taking part in it, and they were willing to participate, and they were willing to compete with one another, you know, in the quality of their floats and things like that, you know.
Yes.
But and which is still going very strong, which is great.
It is, I suppose KK's success in hurling was the only thing that knocked it back last year.
Yeah, that's on this year, yes.
But,
And the only other time it didn't take that was it 2001, the foot and mouth disease or something.
oh
like that,
right,
yes.
yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Mm.
And then of course you got a certain amount of notoriety one year as well, didn't you?
Oh, I did, Tom, that was, I didn't
Featuring
like
on,
that.
was it RTE and the Irish Times and
yes,
everything?
and there's the Sun and the Star and the whole lot of them there, you know.
Yeah, but I think you even made a quality papers, Joe.
Did I make the quality papers? I don't know whether I did or not. But,
Yeah.
and you know what harm? This is the German thing.
The
now.
German one, yeah, the Hitler.
The Hitler, yes. And what harm John Mitchell, the father,
Yeah,
they had it done once in Mount Boris, you see.
that's right. It was on Boris that morning, I think.
It came to Kilcormac then in the letter, and the next thing, the Chief Marshal, Seamus Barron, came to me and said that there was a person there who objected strongly to the entry, the Holocaust or whatever it was there,
Yeah.
you know, she had gone to the guards about it and that, but I made a decision that I'd asked them to stop, and fair play to them, they did.
They agreed, yeah.
In hindsight, I should never have asked them to stop. I'd say that now, you know.
Yeah, but
because it was harmless really. When I think of what happened to the man out in Mount Boris in the centre.
yeah, and a bit of fun.
A bit of fun, yes, yes.
I mean, I suppose they were unfortunate in that they did it so perfectly. You know, the
Yes.
dressing up and the
Yes, because they entered
the vendors they had and everything.
they had some wonderful clothes.
They did, yeah.
They
But I
were-
suppose
they
it
were-
just
they
looked
were
so
smeary,
authentic.
You know, they
Yeah.
did one in Roger Casement there. They did a beautiful one about the colours there, and they
That's right, yeah.
Oh, they did some wonderful ones, but they were scary enough.
Yeah.
You know,
But I suppose the fact that it was so authentic looking
Oh,
is
yes, yeah.
probably what came against them afterwards.
Yes,
That-
yeah. But anyhow, there was one particular individual who had a connection with the paper, anyhow, with some papers and another, and they went to town on it, and I refused to comment on it, you know,
Yeah.
so that, but sure, look at it pass by.
Storm in the
It's-
teacup.
it's- everything is a storm in the teacup.
Yeah.
All these things pass by, and
They're only news for that moment.
Funny enough, for 2 years afterwards there was mention of it, just leading up to it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone would bring it up again, and the lady that objected was the wife of one of the ones that was taking part of it in the parade, or himself, like, you know.
Right.
He was part of the Mitchell outfit, you know.
Right, okay. So, which seems amazing then. But look at
So I'll dusted now.
it's all water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge.
Now, Joe, we have a photo there of you when you were retiring after, 44 years service to Kilcormac Credit Union?
Yes.
Voluntary service, and a little piece of bog oak. And I think you were saying you like it, you do?
Oh, Tom, it's a beautiful piece of bog oak. There's no doubt about it. It's absolutely, and I have a few lovely bits, you know, at home as well. That have been presented to me in various forms there. I have a beautiful reindeer. It was presented by the Patrick's Day Parade at some stage. I have a beautiful Don O'Boyle one as well, with the gospels there, and is it Electrum you call it, Tom?
Electrum, yeah.
Electrum,
I remember that piece, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
oh yes, well, Tom, I was made Personality of the Year there in 1991, I think, or something.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, Joe.
Oh, yeah, Tom.
No, but I'm glad you did. I actually couldn't remember what year it was.
I'm nearly sure it was that year, Tom.
Yeah,
you know.
1991, yeah.
Yeah.
The Historical Society.
Yes, indeed.
It was a new venture for them. They decided they would try that.
It was.
And you were to facilitate us by being the MC.
I was to be the MC, and I was totally and utterly taken in by everyone concerned. Even by, you know, my sister Mary, who was in Keith. She'd be ringing sort of unusual times, you know, but it wasn't to me she was talking at all, it was to Carmen, you know. And I was getting urgings to get a new suit, like, you know, to wear it, and you know, that you can't go looking like a tramp, and so anyhow, I was caught. I came out here with this Sweeney and had a special chat with him, and you know, he had done the photographing and the whatnot. Oh, he had, but it was all me he had photographed, not John Keane, like, you know, who was the fly in the eye.
Yeah. I think we all remember that moment when you were...
When I was caught.
Yeah.
Your wife, Claire Daly, and she knew that I was caught, and she knew that I was... And her two legs lifted up in the air. She was down the front row and
fell back laughing.
And she was in stitches and enjoyed every moment.
Oh, it was great. But I think you were you felt very honoured by being chosen for that.
Oh God, I did, Tom.
Yeah, it was a sort of this is your life.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Presentation. All your family
and all the people that came, and Michelle came from England and whatnot. There, you know, to Forest, and she was supposed to be speaking to me from England at some and Pádraig O'Neill, who was an inspector, he came as well, and Oliver Murray and different friends, you know.
Great.
It was a wonderful night that night, you know. And then, not to mention my retirement, the night in the hall, I enjoyed that immensely too.
Right, yeah.
The retirement.
From teaching, yeah. And you retired, was it 1993? Or was
1993, Tom, I retired, yes.
20 years retired, Joe?
20 years retired, yes.
And those 20 years gone quickly.
Have the what? Have the what?
I'd say, yeah. But you've enjoyed your retirement.
I have enjoyed my retirement. I must say that I have enjoyed my retirement very much, and while the health isn't just actually as good as it should be, but it's as good as can be expected at the moment. So that's the way. I'm just. We won't talk about it anymore. I'm not sick or not. I have a good appetite, and but I'm in a bit of pain already. You know, that's.
But Joe, I suppose go back a little bit. Golf was a game that you enjoyed.
Oh yes, I enjoyed it again.
And even I suppose thinking in Kilcormac, the pitch and putt.
Oh, the pitch and putt, yes. The pitch
you played pitch and putt as well.
I
were involved in pitch and putt.
I was heavily involved in the pitch and putt. And
down the Kilnagall Road.
Down the Kilnagall Road. There was a championship course, Tom, there.
Yeah, I remember it.
There was it would have made a championship course, you know. Right. You could have definitely, because it had hills and it had slopes and it had, you know, a stream going by it, and you had to go over the stream, and, you know, tight corners, everything now, Tom, it had, you know. It had a beautiful hole, the ninth, and it was up a hill there, it was in the middle of and it was a great
up onto a raised...
raised, that's right.
I can remember it.
And it was. And oh God, there was a huge people playing it, and a huge number of people playing it, and some excellent. Louis being the daddy of them all, you know, and who brought the people down there and showed them how to play, and made good golfers of them. Really.
Golfers of them afterwards, And you went on then from the pitch and putt to join Tullamore Golf Club?
To join Tullamore Golf Club there. And like everything else, when you join things, suddenly you got involved in the committees and things like that. And I had never any aspirations to be captain or president or anything involved in that capacity. But as it happened, Bill O'Donovan was president, and who was to succeed him?
Pat Burns.
Pat Burns was to succeed him, who became very ill and who subsequently died there, you know. But I was proposed and seconded as at committee level by Bill O'Donovan, or he was asked to approach me would I be interested in taking over, you know. So that in itself was an honour, like, because I was coming in out of the blue, like, you know.
You weren't already serving on council,
you know. So that was it, and then at the night of the AGM, you proposed me yourself there, and Sean Craven.
That was a great pleasure to do.
Seconded it, and he did it. You did it, Tom, and you never looked at a note. You didn't have it. But as you said yourself, you know your subject.
I knew you well.
As you still know.
I still know you well. Here we are still talking, Joe.
That's true.
And did you enjoy your term as president?
I did. I did.
I suppose there's a little bit of pressure because
there is an awful lot of meetings to attend, Tom, you know, and I suppose the least enjoyable night was maybe the AGM when I was the night I was finishing up, you know. I had a man there who had a few chairs so many, and he wanted to ask questions about the finances of the club, you know. So
he wanted his voice to be heard.
He wanted his voice to be heard. But there were people there to answer him, because, you know, the treasurer and the accountants were there, so, you know,
they were.
It's the person on top that gets to stick, like, you know.
Yes, you're in the firing line.
You're in the firing line. But
and then I suppose it led on to our golf society being formed here in Kilcormack.
Oh yes, indeed, which I'm now an honorary life president of there, and which is a tribute as well, and which is a privilege to be.
And you have a fine bunch of fellas there on screen.
Oh yes, indeed. Yes.
I think we were down in Portumna that day, Joe.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
And over the last number of years, your President's Prize, we've usually played in Tullamore.
Yes, it's played in Tullamore. Yes, it is, and the members like going there as well. You know, that particular course now has really come on, Tom, and it is up in the high in the list now. It's above Tullamore in the list of quality.
Portumna. But it's a beautiful course as well.
It is.
Lovely parkland.
Yeah, lovely parkland, forestry and things like that.
And it's really, really nice.
Yes, it is.
And then, of course, your son Ronan is a star golfer.
Well, Ronan he's
handicapped.
He generates great power, you know, and he hits it so far, like, you know, I suppose it's all about timing, really, you know. You need to practice a lot. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, but some people just have the
timing properly, you know. So, and if you want to play at his handicap now, I think he's down to 2 now or something.
Yeah, he's down around that anyway.
And you have to be practicing a lot, and he has now that he has other.
He's other responsibilities.
No, yes.
Yeah. So which brings us nicely on, Joe, to I suppose your family and Ronan and Michelle. First of all,
Ronan and Michelle. Ronan and Michelle. Michelle, you met her there not too long ago this evening.
That's right.
She's a great one to call and visit us once every fortnight. There she comes.
And she's living
in Keelan, and she's living in Navan. They're married to Kevin Farrell. And
a baby son.
They have a baby son, Keelan. He'll be 2 on the 1st of March, and he's into every press, cupboard, drawer, anything you want him. But he's a full-time job when he comes around, but he's a dote.
Yeah.
Now and then you have Ronan, who was married to Neve.
And we have a photo there, Joe, on the day of the wedding.
Oh my God, yes.
And you all look very well there.
Oh yeah, that nice now. That's lovely. Yeah, that's absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely, yes. And
Ronan married to Neve, and they have
a son, and they have Keelan there.
Yeah.
We get mixed up with Keelan and Caden.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't go down too well.
a slip of the tongue.
A slip of the tongue. But anyhow, Caden will be, he was 3 in the third, on the 16th of September that he was 3, and he said he's a dolt, God bless him now. And he's such a pleasant, happy little fellow, you know. So that,
isn't it great?
And
isn't it great to have them?
Isn't it great to have them, Tom?
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
And sure, that's where our future lies, Tom. You know, that's the future of everyone's.
Yeah.
In there.
There they are, Joe. Look at them.
That's there now. That's there. That's Keelan. That's Michelle's, and that is Caden.
Caden over the other side.
Yeah. And Eve's there.
Yeah, and they're lovely. Joe, I suppose maybe a different type of question, but if I'm sure as Ronan and Eve grew up, you gave them all the words of wisdom and all the good advice you could. If you had advice for your grandchildren now, what would you emphasise, or what advice would you give them in life for down the line?
A very good question, Tom. Or very good, yeah. What I always tried to do when I was teaching, and I often spoke to lads that were leaving at 6th class when they were leaving the school, you know, and I was always teaching to have respect for themselves, respect for their parents, respect for their elders.
Yeah.
And that they didn't have to be, you know, people in authority like guards or priests or teachers, but to have respect for all people.
All people.
Because everyone at some stage gets older.
Yeah.
Every day passes, you get older. And the time will come when you will expect people to have respect for you.
Yeah.
And I would say to them, and I will be saying to them as long as I can, you know, I know we're in a different climate and a different everything, but respect means everything, you know.
It's a great rule of life, isn't it?
It is indeed, you know, it is indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And Joe, I suppose, going through all your years and all the decades you've obviously seen a fair bit of change.
Yes.
Is there any decade that stands out for you, or that you would have fond memories of, maybe one more than the other?
Times were definitely different in the 50s and 60s, Tom. There were tough times, but people seem to be happier then than they are now.
Yeah.
You know, the same, whether people were happier with less then than what they are now, but I suppose the late 90s you would see that there was a big change, you know, on how the lifestyle of people improved, you know,
right.
How their quality of life improved and how they got on in the world there, how that improved. Of course, travel is a wonderful thing, Tom, and the world is such a small place now.
It's changed.
And travel is, you get there so quickly now, and the world is changing and everything, you know, so the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, that's when I could see the biggest change, you know, but I love to see, you know, the new buildings in Kilcormac there, and there's the Priory there, and on the Tullamore Road next to my own house there, and there's also down below isn't that terrible now?
Or the community centre down?
No, the community centre is the most wonderful thing that happened. You know, there's no doubt about it. It's one of the best things that happened around there. No, there's the scheme of houses there.
Oh,
Glendine.
Glendine, yeah. Yeah.
And it's lovely to see the families in them, and the kids going to school in the morning, and it's great to have the school. I never regretted staying in Kilcormac. I never regretted staying. I think it's a fabulous place to live in and to have lived in there, you know. And I get on so well, hopefully, with everyone.
And you do.
I hope I don't have done any harm to anyone.
I don't think you have, Joe. You're very highly thought of and well respected in the community.
Well, thank you very much.
Would you ever have thought when you landed here in 1958 that you would spend the rest of your working life and retirement and all here?
That never. Well, you see, Tom, I was the youngest of the family at home, and I suppose in the sense I was maybe a bit spoiled, and they didn't. They mightn't have thought I was an organizer at all. I think the night of the
personality
of the year that they really realised that I was involved in things in Cormac, you know,
and what a mark you've made,
and that I made a sort of a mark in it, you know, because the Bridge Club in Forbad, I was president of that at one time as well, Tom.
Oh yeah, of course you're.
I used to play that.
You play a good game of cards, Joe.
Well, I used to at one time, Tom. Now Cameron was much better than I was at them, but then all the parish work that I used to be involved in, you know.
Yeah.
The times have changed there again. You used to have to take the offerings and the whole lot at the church, you know, and all that, and then there was the Eucharist ministers and the readers and the whole lot then, you know.
But I think, Joe, you always gave of your time.
Well,
you gave freely of your time.
I did, I suppose.
Yeah,
I did,
which was, and I think Kilcormac benefited greatly from it, you know, and
well,
we all did.
Thank you very much.
And we still do.
And we still do.
And you still, you enjoy coming out here to Dan and Molly's?
Oh, I enjoy coming out to Dan and Molly's, I certainly do. That, and more often I can come out, and that's what I like. But they're very nice to me here anyhow, because, you know, if you get out, you get home, and that's
it, yeah.
That's the main thing.
And I suppose we couldn't be in a nicer place to have a chat, could we?
We couldn't be in a nicer place now, Tom, to have a chat, and thank her for that too.
We'll thank Molly for that. And maybe, Joe, that's a good place to end, isn't it?
A good place to end, and Tom, thank you very, very much.
And Joe, look it.
And there was no problem.
Thank you very much for agreeing to do it. And
David, thank you very much indeed.
And we've thoroughly enjoyed having the chat with you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.